Family, today is the day the Lord hath made. We should all be glad and rejoicing in it. I pray that this message right now is finding you in good health and in good spirits. I pray that you've had a wonderful week. I pray that this week that's in front of us is going to be prosperous for you. I want to share a little information on a couple of topics this morning. The first thing that has been on my heart and on my mind is to just kind of delve into the current financial environment that we're living in. And what I mean by that is that I know that the coronavirus, when it hit, a lot of people were displaced from jobs. A lot of people lost jobs. It was just an entire worldwide economic downturn. And so because of that, many people found themselves in financial hardships. And so we know that our government put in place the CARES Act, which in turn put trillions of dollars into our economy. A lot of people were able to benefit from getting loans and getting grants, and unemployment checks were put in place where individuals got $600 and still receiving $600 checks on a weekly basis in order to get over this hump. And so July 31st, which is going to be in less than a couple of weeks, the unemployment funding ends for many individuals. And so then the question is going to be, what next? Congress goes back into session tomorrow, July the 20th, from being on recess. Congress is going to come back in session from July the 20th until August the 7th. And it's expected that they are going to put another small stimulus package in place for some individuals. Not all. It's not going to be as robust as the last economic package, but we'll see. Who knows what's going to happen if they even do anything. But if they're going to do anything, more than likely it's going to be between tomorrow, July 20th, and August the 7th, because after the August the 7th, Congress is going to go back into recess again for a few weeks. And so we'll see. But that's something big that we're going to have to look out for and see what's going to happen, again, from an economic perspective. When that money runs out, what is that going to mean for tens of millions of Americans? It automatically means all of a sudden their resources are going to dry up. And then what next? What's going to happen in the world? So we want to understand and be aware of that. I'm going to speak on just the economic implications for just not individual families, but what's happening right now from a national perspective. July the 20th, again through August the 7th, Congress back in session from recess. We'll see. Something else that's going to happen this month and already began to happen. We know that big industry companies typically report their earnings on a quarterly basis. And so January, February, and March was the first quarter of the year. We know the economy really didn't shut down until April. And so what that means is that January, February, March, most companies reported quarterly earnings in April that wasn't necessarily impacted by the coronavirus. That means big industry was still able to report large revenues, or normalized revenues, if you will, pre-crisis. However, the revenues or the financials that's going to get reported and that's being reported this month in many industries they're going to reflect the economic downturn. They're going to reflect the financial viability, if you will, of a company for the months of April, May, and June, i.e., the lockdown period. And so it's expected that many industries, many companies will report quarterly earnings that's going to deviate or even be less than what they were this time last year. Unless you're, of course, Amazon, Netflix. There are some anomalies in the system. Most of them are the tech industries that's reporting and will report actual increase in revenue and increase in numbers as opposed to a decrease. And so I'm saying that to say, and that kind of sheds some light on the fact that the tech industry is somewhat more resilient right now in relation to other industries. And so, what does that mean when companies report their quarterly earnings in July? I'll talk about that a little bit more in a few minutes. I want to point out that Quicken Loans slash it's Quicken Loans, and it's another company, Rocket Mortgage is what it is. Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage. They boast, and they are perhaps the largest mortgage lender in the nation. And so Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage just recently filed to recently filed with the SEC to initiate an IPO, or initial public offering, for stock. Why am I mentioning that? Again, it has huge, to me, implications on where our government and where our economy is essentially going. The things that's not really being talked about, but when you peel the layers back and kind of analyze what's going on a little bit, this fact that Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage, again, the biggest lender in this nation, is getting ready to file an IPO. So the timing looks a little suspect. So the question is, what does Rocket Mortgage / Quicken Loans know that the rest of the nation, essentially the majority of the nation, may not know? And so it's important to look at that, because it can tell us and to me show us where our economy is heading right now. Last thing I want to mention is that there's a Chinese company called Kingsoft Cloud Holding. And so this Chinese company, Kingsoft Cloud, just made a huge move that, again, the average American, unless you're just interested in finances and the economy, keep up with this type of stuff, just not aware of. Well, what aren't we aware of? Well, this Chinese company, Kingsoft Cloud Holding, they are the first Chinese company to go public in the U.S. And so Kingsoft went public in the U.S. on May the 8th. What are the implications for that? Why is this important? Why am I taking time out and mentioning this in the video? Because traditionally, China is, and still is, China is a closed economy. And so, meaning the average person just cannot participate in free trade, if you will, in the Chinese government. The typical American just cannot go on the Chinese stock market and buy their stock. And so, what implications does this have? The fact that right now, during the middle perhaps the middle of this worldwide pandemic, that China decided to go public uh, in the United States with their first company. And so there's some huge implications there with the things that I just mentioned from a financial perspective. And so I'm mentioning all of this to say that uh, um, preferably that everyone is being a good steward of your finances right now. If you have a few dollars that you're actually saving and holding on to it, just to be able to and prepared to weather the storm that we are about to enter. It may be seemingly like it's a storm now, but I think a bigger storm has been brewing. One that heading into the next few months, we don't know. What I do know is that, now if there's ever not a time to continue to put our hope, faith, and trust in the Lord, that we need to continue to do that. But when this unemployment, when the CARES Act unemployment component runs out July 31st, and it's not, and Congress decides potentially not to put any more money back, we're essentially on the brink of a big bubble bursting. Right now, a lot of people, millions of Americans have been comforted with having extra money in their pockets because of this $600. And the reality of it is, if you make minimum wage and you work 40 hours a week, if you've been getting $600 a week, that's probably almost double the pay that you were making while you were working. And so this money runs out, and then all of a sudden we go dry. Many individuals, especially the ones that may not have saved in that money, going to find themselves in more of a financial distress. And so that means people that have mortgages, people that have car loans, are all of a sudden once again going to be thrust into a position where they may not be able to pay. And so we could potentially have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of people, left in a position where, they're just back living day to day, week to week, trying to figure out, trying to scurry and find jobs in order to pay bills. And we know if you go too long, obviously without money, you're not going to be able to pay that car note. You're not going to be able to pay that mortgage. And so there'll be many people left in a very scary, uncomfortable position. Hence why I mentioned about Quicken Loans and Rocket Mortgage applying for IPO. What does an IPO allow a company to do? Raise capital. And so if they're looking at the fact that many individuals may start to go into default in the next few months because of Congress not renewing or adding to the CARES Act, and now over the next few months people start to default in their loans, that means mortgage companies and banks are going to be strapped for cash. And so yes, on Quicken Loans, Rocket Mortgage, hey, let's file for an IPO right now. Let's try to raise this cash real quickly over the next maybe few months, so we can be prepared to weather this storm that's potentially brewing right now, in the sense of there may be hundreds of thousands, millions of people that go into default because of the CARES unemployment component running out. And so, just something to be prayerful about, something to be vigilant and watchful for as we examining what's going on in the economy. This whole China Kingsoft going public right now, very, 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 very interesting. We know that even as it relates to the coronavirus, some people have said that believe that the virus originated in Wuhan, China, right? And that it was possibly even intended to weaponize, be a weaponized virus. And so there are a lot of theories that's out there. None of them have been 100% proven. But interestingly enough, that China comes up again, especially in this time where they now allowing the first company to go public in the U.S. And so, it's going to be interesting to see how this company performs. Going to be interesting to see if other companies, if China is going to then open up more of their businesses to the United States. And what an opportune time, right? When a lot of the United States-based companies are struggling to make ends meet, if you will. How convenient is it that now China will allow Americans others to buy into their companies? And so, that maybe feeds into, could potentially feed into some of those conspiracy theories. All depends on how you want to look at it. But family, I can talk for hours about this stuff. I don't want to bore you. My whole thing is to put you on notice. I wouldn't sleep right with me to know that there's certain things that I see that's going on that I want to share with you. One of the bigger ones is I've heard a lot of you all have invested into stock, have just invested. Period. Trying to take advantage of some of the opportunities right now. I do want to say if you have probably invested, it really depends on what sector that you've invested in. But if you are a novice, new investor, don't really quite know what you're doing, but you limped in a few months ago because you saw that the market, crashed and essentially remains on a very unstable roller coaster. But in many instances, going up, in some cases going down. If you actually made a little bit of money in stocks, you probably, unless it's a long-term blue chip or just one that you're making a long-term investment for, you just might want to get out. Again, I'm not a financial expert by no means, but I do know just enough to be dangerous, and I study enough just to keep myself sharp and aware, if you will. But just in looking at everything that's going on right now, I think we are on the brink of a financial bubble that's about to burst, and so the stock probably is going to take another huge downturn again. That's because of partly in due to the fact that the stimulus money that was just injected into the economy is going to essentially begin to dwindle. And so right now the market is hyperinflated, if you will, with monies. And so that money is going to run out, and then what? And so we're going to see where companies that had these huge gains, they're going to begin to normalize, if you will. And so if you were able to ride that roller coaster up, you might want to jump off before it comes to a complete stop or standstill. Again, just my 2 cents. Now, again, if you happen to have chosen a company that you have in your portfolio, made an investment that's in your portfolio that you're holding on to long term, by all means continue to hold that position. But anything else, you just may want to come off of it, take your money and run. But my thing is put something away for a rainy day if you haven't already, because I think the storm is going to hit here again in the next 1 or 2 months. We know we're about to enter also into the flu season in the fall, right? So in the middle of summer, but the fall is coming, and so unfortunately, the the numbers for the coronavirus in most states, most places have been just on the steady rise. And what's going to happen when flu season hits and people are panicking because they don't know whether I have the flu or had the corona, whether my child has the flu or have the corona. And so that's going to create and cascade uh, some more issues. Even if we get a vaccine come um, September or October, or whenever some of the early projections said that a vaccine may be ready. Because think about, family, if a vaccine is ready in October, how long do you think it's going to take for distribution? Just not citywide, but statewide, nationwide, worldwide. So we're talking months before most individuals sitting where we sit will even be able to touch a vaccine when it's available. We know stuff flows downhill, right? So the more economically advantaged people that's able to afford and pay, top dollar for the vaccine, those are going to be ones that get it first and get offered first and so forth and so on. And so, in many of our cities and neighborhoods, it's going to be months before we even have a vaccine and probably touch a vaccine and have access to even get this, to even get the vaccine, even if it's available in the fall. And so we're still talking the rest of 2020 is essentially I don't want to say a wash, but in many regards, when we're talking about the expectations of things to begin to normalize, it really is. And so, we can pretty much expect the rest of 2020 just to ride it out really in the current state, that we're in. But with all that being said, the good Lord is still yet in control. And I'm just reminded in the when the children of Israel left Egypt, and they were just consistently doing things that they were told not to do. They were being hard-headed, right? They were worshiping idol gods. They were looting and stealing and fornicating and adultery and just all of these things, engaging in activities and doing things that they should not have done. And then the Lord, we know the Lord consistently got fed up with them, even though he gave them opportunity after opportunity. But the Lord at times, he sent even judges, right? The book of Judges, we know that the good Lord sent people to speak to his chosen ones in order to give them an opportunity to repent. And so, family, the Lord is speaking to us right now. I know he is. He's trying to give us an opportunity as he's the ultimate judge. He's given us an opportunity right now to get ourselves and our lives, our house in order. And so I pray, family, that everyone right now is just focusing in on self and family and doing the things that you need to do to stay mentally, emotionally, physically well in the midst of this pandemic. And most importantly, keeping your eyes on the Lord and not being not being swayed by the enemy to take your eyes off of them. And so, family, I promise you hold on to God's unchanging hand. We're going to weather this storm. But I pray that the rest of your day and your time goes well until the next time. Just remember to keep the Lord lifted up. And in all things you do acknowledge him, and he shall direct your paths. All right, family. Peace. Love you.